Elon Musk offers you a job. Will you accept? Picture this. Your phone rings one ordinary afternoon and the voice on the line belongs to me, Elon Musk. I cut straight to the chase with just 7 words. I want to offer you a job. Before you blurt out a yes or no, take a breath. If you're even curious enough to hear me out, jot down the word job right now. Maybe in the Notes app on your phone or a scrap of paper nearby. What do you suppose I'd mean by that? Sure, most folks picture me pitching something high-octane, launching rockets into orbit, optimizing massive assembly lines, crunching data on AI breakthroughs, or hashing out strategies in marathon boardroom sessions stacked with spreadsheets. But not this time. This isn't about tech wizardry, hardware innovation, or climbing the corporate ladder. This is about a gift that's scarce in our rush-hour world. Something typically forged only after half a century of navigating life's twists and turns. You see, no algorithm, no 4-league degree, no cutting-edge app can replicate what real time on this planet hands you. After 50-plus years, you've witnessed cycles of boom and bust, weathered personal tempests at home and on the job, and mastered the art of endurance, foresight, and knowing when to hit pause. You've grasped that the boldest moves aren't always the flashiest. They're the measured ones that pay off over decades. That's precisely why the position I'm proposing isn't for a coder, a builder, or a suit in the Soite. It's for a life advisor. Not the polished type with a corner office and framed credentials, but the genuine article, someone whose insights are etched from authentic trials, triumphs, heartaches, and hard-won lessons. Chosen one, don't just receive, respond. A simple super thanks up to $20 is a way to say yes to what heaven is releasing through this word. I need voices like yours, those who've accumulated enough mileage to spot the traps that ensnare the eager and the green. Envision yourself in a conference room buzzing with sharp-minded innovators in their 20s and 30s. They can blueprint tomorrow's world, but they're teetering on the edge of collapse, sacrificing sleep, sanity, and soul for the next deadline. You'd be the steady presence who interjects, hold up, reflect. Velocity is great, but without purpose, it's just noise. That guidance could spare them a lifetime of what-ifs. It could steady a team. It could redefine an empire. Tech drives the engine of tomorrow. But lived wisdom is the guardrail keeping it from veering off a cliff. And that depth, it resides in folks who've racked up the mileage, bearing the marks of battles fought and wisdom earned, not just resumes and accolades. So if you're past 50, if you've ever felt like the world had moved on without you, hear me. I reject that notion outright. Your prime could be unfolding right now. Armed with an irreplaceable asset that cash can't conjure and the young can't counterfeit. Seasoned insight, that's the opportunity on the table to impart it to bridge generations to ensure the builders of the future craft with depth, not just dazzle. Now, straight up, if I dialed you tomorrow with this proposition, would you say yes? This isn't your standard gig. No clocking in at dawn, no paperwork avalanche, no rehashing routines. It's tackling the void plaguing nearly every enterprise today. Not raw smarts or expertise, but true sagacity. And that's the edge that elevates everything. Consider this across sectors: tech hubs, hospitals, schools, Startups. They're brimming with driven talents bursting with vigor and vision, hell-bent on reshaping reality. But here's the gap. They lack the tempered lens of longevity. They haven't clocked the fallout of haste, the toll of sidelining well-being for wins, or the illusion that a single breakthrough defines existence. Enter you not for your tech chops or operational savvy, but for your panoramic view. You've ridden out market crashes and surges, watched sectors soar then shatter, observed bonds strain and mend or fray. That tapestry becomes your North Star, a tool the next wave hasn't yet forged. In this advisor capacity, you'd serve as counselor, sage, and sentinel of equilibrium. Think of a squad grinding through sleepless nights on a high-stakes venture, equating fatigue with fervor. You'd intervene. I've walked that path. I've watched dreams crumble under burnout. Homes fracture from the frenzy. Ease off. Recalibrate. Safeguard your foundation. In that instant, you might not only rescue their well-being, but fortify the mission itself. Or picture leaders gunning for gains at all costs, blind to the bigger why. You'd nudge, I've seen fortunes flicker, but integrity, connections, and conviction, those endure abruptly. A venture dodges a pitfall that could have unraveled it down the line. This isn't a footnote role. It's pivotal. It separates enduring legacy from fleeting hype, substance from superficiality. Society often dismisses maturity as obsolete in our hyperspeed era. I beg to differ. It amplifies relevance when wielded boldly. Wisdom thrives when shared. Hoarded, it withers. By stepping up, you'd weave it into the fabric of progress, influencing how firms nurture talent, how emerging chiefs command, how we measure triumph beyond the metrics, honoring the soul of advancement. The youth, they crave this more than they let on. Behind the bravado, they're adrift, sifting through digital noise for direction in feeds and forums. Yet, the real gold might be right there in the tales of someone who's traversed 6 or 7 decades with unquenched curiosity. This isn't mere employment. It's a calling to preserve sagacity amid our velocity fixation, to caution that unchecked momentum courts peril, to anchor innovation in principles that sustain humanity. If you've doubted your relevance, know this. It's far from over. It might be ramping up. Youth erects the structures. Maturity infuses them with soul. Let me sketch a scene. You enter a war room alive with prodigy engineers. Vibrant sticker-plastered devices humming. Ideas firing like synapses. They move at warp speed. Convinced relentless push conquers all. Then you arrive. No frenzy required. Your tenure commands quiet respect. The chatter hushes not from volume but gravitas. You absorb then advise, and they hang on every word, starved for that grounded poise. That's your arena. Infusing serenity into frenzy, harmony amid hustle, foresight for the uncharted stretch. Errors today echo for years. You'd illuminate that. Or suppose a rising exec eyes a lucrative pact that screams red flags to your instincts. Echoes of past fiascos where shortcuts bred catastrophe. No data dive needed. You've embodied the fallout, perhaps in your own ventures. Your timely word averts disaster, sparing Ian of fallout. Flash to a crew of early 30-somethings deeming themselves unbreakable, torching every wick in pursuit of glory. You've traversed that fire. Colleagues felled by fatigue, kinships eroded by absence, passion poisoned by weariness. You recount a peer's downfall or a mentor's isolation and light dawn. They pivot, preserving not just output, but essence that tweak it could rewrite destinies. Your power lies in authenticity. No facades, no buzzwords, just raw, earned truth. In sprawling operations like ours, brilliance abounds, but life's nuances often fade. You'd spotlight the intangible. Choices ripple to hears and societies, judged by legacy over ledgers. Why vital? Innovation propels us to stars, but judgment charts our conduct there. Algorithms stack towers, but insight deems them sanctuaries or cages. Trailblazers accelerate, yet sans counsel. They forge sterile efficiency. You supply the humanity. Skeptics scoff at life advisors as fluffy or pea. I counter with history's blunders not from intellect deficits but wisdom voids. Empires toppled on hubris. Firms imploded on greed. Titans bartered ethics for edge. Heedless of elders' cautions. You'd be the sentinel. I've charted this course. It ends in ruins. Choose wiser. That pivot world-altering. Allow me to introduce Maria, 65, from Michigan. She'd hung up her career hat, convinced her chapter closed. But she tested this advisor path. Elon, she queried. What could I add to your rocket squad? They're light years ahead. I replied, Maria, they have thrust, but you hold the trajectory. Without it, thrust scatters. Maria integrated seamlessly. No spotlight, just attentive edges and huddles. One pivotal session. The crew plotted an aggressive prototype sprint. All adrenaline, zero buffers. Maria queried. And if supply glitches hit mid-launch, who's shielding the crew and end users from fallout? Crickets. That probe reshaped the blueprint rollout shifted 4 months. Initial groans from the team, but execution seamless. Defect rates plunged 35%. User trust surged 50%. Ops streamlined 25%. Post-mortem. Her insight netted $28 million in dodged crisis. Maria's ripple grew. She hosted intimate circles, 4 or 5 souls, sharing unvarnished yarns on ambitions, setbacks, legacies, no slides, pure dialogue. Turnover in her orbit halved in 4 months. Output rose via focus, not frenzy. Requests for her time outpaced exec slots. Why? She offered clarity. Sans critique pure navigation surveys. Her men felt 75% sure-footed. That boosted eased commutes home, mended ties, quelled burnout. All from one lifetime's ledger. Maria's not solo. Enter Carlos, 59, ex-nurse from Florida. Decades in high-stakes care honed his radar for unseen strains. He clocked teams fraying from siloed egos, ideas clashing unheard. Carlos launched casual dialogue sessions low-key no cost. Post 3 months, collaboration snags fell 55%. Purely from teaching presence over presumption, or Sophia, 68, who helmed a modest farm co-op in Kansas, seemed worlds from neural nets. Yet she flagged over-reliance on fragile vendors. One drought, one delay, your whole chain snaps, she noted. Diversification followed. When disruption struck, we sailed smooth. Rivals reeled. Savings over $45 million. Easy. To doubters mocking such hires, I spotlight Maria, Carlos, Sophia. No fame, no fortunes, just lived lore generously given. Their quiet input smoothed sails, boosted bottoms, eased burdens, built bonds. Imagine if every outfit embraced this. Wasted fortunes slashed, pitfalls evaded, existences enriched. Wisdom, the ultimate scarcity. Data floods us. Gadgets evolve, but time-scarred acuity. That's human gold slipping away as veterans fade. Unless we harness it. If Maria, Carlos, and Sophia could ignite change, why not you? What bars you from voicing the survival tale that spares another? From steadying the gale, anchoring the rush, underscoring the eternal. Tech marches on with or without us. But wisdom irreplaceable human-born. Yours awaits deployment. So envision my call tomorrow. Your insight's essential. Your path lights ours. Claim your place. Would you enter? Would you impart? Would you occupy that reserved spot? Now, before you jump to say yes, I want you to pause for a second. Let that sentence sit with you. If those words stirred something in you, even a little curiosity, then write job in the comments because this message might be meant for you. Most people when they hear Elon Musk job, picture rockets, electric cars, cutting-edge AI, or long meetings filled with equations and spreadsheets. But this time, it's not that kind of job. This offer isn't about science or code or factories. It's about something far more human. Something so rare that frankly only those who've lived long enough usually carry it. I'm talking about wisdom because after 5 decades or more on this earth, you don't just have memories, you have understanding. You've seen how patterns repeat. You've endured losses that taught you patience, victories that taught you gratitude, and failures that shaped your strength. You've learned that sometimes the quiet decision, not the loud one, changes everything. And that's exactly why I'd be calling you. Not for a position in engineering or management, not for design or operations. The role I'd offer you is life consultant. Not a therapist, not a motivational speaker, but a mentor who has lived through real storms and real triumphs and can guide those building the future. Imagine sitting across from a table full of young, brilliant minds, engineers, designers, creators bursting with ideas. They have intelligence, ambition, and speed. But what they don't have yet is perspective. They're racing toward tomorrow, but they can't yet see how the choices they make today will shape it. And that's where you come in. You'd be the calm in the room that says, slow down. Think twice. Don't just chase speed, chase meaning. That single moment could save years of burnout, mistakes, and regret. It could protect not just a project, but people's peace. Type job if you already feel that spark inside you. Because this offer might be exactly what your next chapter was waiting for. Technology will always build faster, but it's wisdom that decides whether what we're building will last. The truth is, the older you get, the more you carry, not just knowledge, but context. You've seen empires rise and fall, businesses thrive and collapse, relationships tested and mended. That history becomes a compass, one younger generations desperately need but don't yet have. This job would make you that compass. Imagine a team pushing themselves to the edge, believing exhaustion is proof of passion. You'd step in and say, "I've seen what happens when people forget to rest, when families crumble under pressure. Protect yourselves now. The work will still be there tomorrow." That one message could save not only their health, but the entire mission. Or picture executives chasing profit so hard they forget about purpose. You'd be the voice that says, "I've watched fortunes come and go, but meaning, trust, and integrity, those are what endure." Suddenly, you shift a company's entire direction. That's not small. That's legacy. Here's what most people don't realize. Age doesn't make you irrelevant. It makes you irreplaceable because wisdom is the one thing you can't download, code, or automate. It must be lived. So, if you're over 50 and you've ever wondered whether your best years are behind you, let me tell you this. I don't believe that for a second. I believe your best years might start now because now you have something that no school can teach and no technology can duplicate. Perspective earned through time. Imagine walking into a conference room full of energetic young people. They're brilliant, but their energy is wild, untamed, impatient. Then you walk in steady, composed, carrying the quiet power that only comes from experience. The room changes. They listen differently. Not because you demand it, but because truth spoken from lived experience commands respect without volume. That's your job. To be the calm in the storm. To anchor the dreamers before their passion burns them out. To remind the builders that humanity must come before velocity. Let me tell you a story. There was a man named Robert, 63, from Ohio. He'd retired once, content to fade into the background. Then one day, I told him about this same idea, becoming a life consultant. He laughed at first and said, "Elon, what could I possibly offer your people? They're smarter, faster, and far more technical than me." I told him, "Robert, they might have the speed, but you have the map, and speed without a map only means getting lost faster." Robert took the role. He didn't arrive with fanfare or authority, just his presence. He listened. And one day in a meeting full of excited engineers planning a risky rollout, he asked a single question. "What happens if this fails mid-inter? Who bears the cost?" Silence filled the room. Nobody had thought about that. His question changed the plan, delayed the project by 3 months. But when it finally launched, it was flawless. No crashes, no chaos. The finance team later calculated that Robert's single question saved the company $32 million. One moment of wisdom, $32 million in impact. Then there was Linda, 58, a retired teacher from Texas. She wasn't a tech expert, but she understood people. She saw how teams were talking past each other instead of to each other. So she began simple listening sessions. No slides, no metrics, just presence. 3 months later, internal miscommunication dropped by 60%. Just because she reminded people how to listen. And James, 71, a small-town repair shop owner who noticed something everyone else missed, a fragile supply chain. He warned the company to diversify before it was too late. Months later, a supplier collapsed. Competitors panicked, but we didn't. James' foresight saved over $60 million. That's the value of wisdom. Not in textbooks, not in algorithms, but in lived experience that prevents disaster before it begins. So when people laugh at the idea of hiring life consultants, I tell them these stories. Robert, Linda, James, ordinary people with extraordinary perspective. None of them were famous. None were CEOs. But they carried the long view. They didn't just make us more efficient. They made us smarter. Think about it. If every company had a few voices like theirs, voices seasoned by decades of living, listening, and learning, how many mistakes could be avoided? How much money could be saved? How many lives could be improved? Wisdom is the rarest resource on earth. We have infinite data, infinite information, but almost no perspective. And every year as people retire and step back, that wisdom vanishes unless we pass it on. So let me ask you directly, if I called you tomorrow and said, "We need your voice in the room," would you say, yes? Would you share what you've learned, the lessons paid for in time, tears and triumphs? Would you take your seat at the table? Because this isn't just a job. It's a mission. A mission to make sure progress still has a heart. To remind a fast world that speed without direction leads nowhere. To make sure when we reach Mars we remember how to stay human. Chosen one, don't just receive, respond. A simple super thanks up to $20 is a way to say yes to what heaven is releasing through this word. Technology can build the future. But it's wisdom that ensures the future is worth building. So, if you still think your best days are behind you, I want to challenge that. They're not. They might just be beginning if you choose to share what only you carry. Now, I'll leave you with this. If I really called you tomorrow and said, "It's time. We need your story, your scars, your strength," would you take that seat? Because if not now, then when? And if wisdom truly is the rarest resource, tell me, what piece of yours would you give the world first?